Novak Djokovic walking slowly toward the baseline, holding his shoulder for a moment, and suddenly the tennis world realized something was not right because just days later the news dropped, and it shocked the entire sport. Novak Djokovic has officially withdrawn from the Miami Open due to a right shoulder injury, and if you are a tennis fan, you already know this is not just another withdrawal. This changes everything about the tournament, about the rankings, and about the rivalry that is shaping the future of tennis. But here is the bigger question that many fans are asking right now. Is this just a small injury break? Or is this the beginning of a much bigger concern for Djokovic at 38 years old? Because if you look closely at what happened in Indian Wells, the warning signs might have been there all along. And later in this video, we will talk about the match that may have pushed Djokovic's body too far and why this injury could affect the rest of his season. The Miami Open has always been a special place for Novak Djokovic. He is not just another champion. There he is, one of the greatest players in the history of that tournament. Djokovic has won the Miami Open 6 times, a record he shares with the legendary Andre Agassi, and for years Miami was one of the stages where Djokovic built his reputation as a dominant hard-court master. Every time he stepped on that court, the crowd expected something magical. Last year he even made it all the way to the final, showing that even deep into his career he could still compete with the very best. But this year the story suddenly changed. The ADP confirmed that Djokovic has withdrawn from the tournament because of a right shoulder injury, and the timing of this news is what makes it so surprising. Just a short time ago, Djokovic was still competing in Indian Wells. He reached the 4th round in singles and even played doubles alongside Stefanos Tsitsipas. At first, everything looked normal, but then fans started noticing something. Some movements looked slightly uncomfortable, some rallies looked a little slower than usual, and when Djokovic played that extremely intense match against Jack Draper, the physical battle seemed to take a real toll. That match went all the way to a 3rd-set tie-break, and if you watched it closely, you could see how demanding it was. Draper was hitting with incredible pace, forcing Djokovic into long, explosive rallies. For a younger player, this type of match is exhausting. For a 38-year-old legend, it can be even more dangerous for the body. Now, we cannot say with absolute certainty that this match caused the injury, but many fans and analysts believe that moment may have been the turning point, and that raises another important question: how serious is the injury really? Because right now the official statement only confirms that Djokovic has a right shoulder problem. There are no details about the severity, no timeline for recovery, and no confirmation about when he will return to competition. That uncertainty is exactly what makes this situation so interesting and a little worrying for fans. Djokovic has always been famous for his incredible physical resilience. Throughout his career, he has recovered from injuries that looked extremely concerning. He has reinvented his training methods, he has changed his nutrition, he has adapted his schedule, and many times he has come back even stronger. But at the same time, tennis history shows that shoulder injuries can be very tricky for players. The shoulder is crucial for serving power, for forehands, for overhead shots, and even small discomfort can dramatically affect performance. So missing the Miami Open might actually be a smart decision, because pushing through pain at this stage of the season could create a bigger problem later. And that leads us to the ranking situation, which is another huge storyline. Djokovic was the finalist at the Miami Open last year. That means he had a massive number of ranking points to defend. Now that he will not play this year, those points will disappear, and that will cause a significant drop in his ranking position. For a player who has spent so many years at the top of the sport, this kind of ranking change can have serious consequences. Lower ranking means tougher draws, facing dangerous opponents earlier in tournaments, and potentially missing favorable seeding positions at major events. So, even though Djokovic has already achieved almost everything possible in tennis, rankings still matter, especially when you want to compete for more Grand Slam titles. But while Djokovic steps away from Miami, the tournament itself is moving forward with a fascinating new storyline, because suddenly the spotlight is shifting toward the next generation. Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and Daniil Medvedev, these 3 players are quickly becoming the central characters of the modern ADP Tour, in Miami could become another chapter in their growing rivalry. Let us start with Jannik Sinner. Right now, Sinner might be the most confident player on the planet. He just won the Indian Wells Masters for the first time in his career, and he did it by defeating Daniil Medvedev in an incredible final. That victory was not just another title, it was a statement. Sinner showed composure, power, and tactical intelligence throughout the entire tournament, and now he arrives in Miami with a chance to achieve one of the rarest accomplishments in tennis, the Sunshine Double. Winning both Indian Wells and Miami in the same season is extremely difficult. The tournaments are played back to back. The conditions are Different, the physical demands are huge, but when a player is in top form it becomes possible, and right now Sinner looks like a player who believes he can do it. Of course, standing in his way will be Carlos Alcaraz, the young Spanish superstar. Never likes watching someone else dominate the conversation. Alcaraz thrives on competition, he thrives on big moments, and after seeing Sinner lift the Indian Wells trophy, you can be sure that Alcaraz is arriving in Miami extremely motivated. These two players represent the future of tennis. Their rivalry has already produced some incredible matches, explosive rallies, unbelievable athleticism, and dramatic momentum swings. So if Djokovic is not in the draw, the spotlight becomes even brighter on Sinner versus Alcaraz. But do not forget about Daniil Medvedev. Even though he lost the Indian Wells final, Medvedev played some brilliant tennis during that tournament. His unique style, his defensive skills, and his ability to turn defense into attack make him one of the toughest opponents on hard courts in Miami. Has been a good event for Medvedev in the past, so if he finds his rhythm again, he could easily become the player who disrupts the Sinner-Alcaraz storyline. This is why tennis can be so unpredictable. One injury withdrawal from a legend suddenly opens the door for new heroes, and Miami could become the stage where the next chapter of the ADP era begins. But the list of withdrawals does not stop with Djokovic. Several other players have also been forced to pull out of the tournament. Holger Rune, Talon, Greek Sporjam, Munar Lorenzo, Sinigo, Jerry Shang, all of them were expected to compete, but circumstances have kept them away. Some of these situations involve injuries, others involve physical exhaustion after the demanding schedule of the tennis calendar, because the truth is the Sunshine Double is one of the toughest stretches in professional tennis. Indian Wells and Miami are both large masters events. They require players to win many matches over long days and difficult conditions. Travel between the two tournaments is quick, recovery time is limited, and players who go deep in Indian Wells often arrive in Miami physically drained. This is something fans do not always realize when watching from the outside. Professional tennis looks glamorous, but the physical demands are enormous. Now the story becomes even more interesting when we look at the women's side of the tournament, because the WTA draw has also experienced several high-profile withdrawals. Lois Boysen, Marketa Vondrousova, Barbara Krejcikova, Carolina Pliskova, Daria Kasatkina, Veronika Kudermetova. All of these players had the opportunity to compete in Miami, but will not be part of the event this year. Again, this highlights how challenging the schedule can be, but even with these absences, the tournament still features an incredible lineup. Aryna Sabalenka is arriving in Miami as one of the biggest favorites. She just captured the Indian Wells title with a powerful performance that reminded everyone why she is one of the most dangerous players in the world. Her aggressive style, her massive serve, and her fearless mentality make her extremely difficult to stop when she is confident, and there is a potential matchup that fans are already talking about, another battle between Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina. If that match happens, it could easily become one of the highlights of the tournament, because when these two players face each other, the level of power is unbelievable. Their match in Indian Wells was already described by many fans as one of the most exciting clashes of the tournament. Seeing them meet again in Miami would be must-watch tennis. So even though some big names are missing, the Miami Open still promises drama, storylines, and unforgettable moments. But let us return to the biggest question surrounding Novak Djokovic. What happens next at 38 years old? Every injury becomes a topic of intense discussion. Some fans immediately start asking whether the end of an era is approaching. Others believe Djokovic still has several strong seasons left, and honestly the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. Djokovic has proven again and again that writing him off is a dangerous mistake. He has surprised critics throughout his entire career. When people said he was finished, he returned stronger.